Well met, lords and ladies. Jacob Butter speaking. As you can tell, I am not very happy right now, and that's because you've seen the title. Something has happened on this platform. It happened yesterday, and it is that the account, or the channel Itzmimichan, has been suspended. I haven't scripted this video at all. I probably should have done, but to be honest, I want this out there as soon as possible because this is really a matter of urgency, because bear in mind that the user of said channel was not always in the most sound of places, and she's been upfront about this before. I would show you proof of this, but obviously with the account suspended, that's a bit difficult to do. This is where it comes to me thinking about what to do to help the situation, because I'm clearly very unhappy with YouTube at the moment and the way that they've actually handled whatever it is that they've handled. Obviously, they have sent a message to Mimi herself about what has happened and why they have suspended the channel. And the message is, we'd like to inform you that due to repeated or severe violations of our community guidelines, your YouTube account, Itzmimichan, has been suspended. At YouTube, we take minor safety very seriously. Any video that includes minors in a sexually suggestive situation will not be tolerated. As our community guidelines outline, YouTube is not a venue for predatory behavior. There are no excuses for such behavior, and we will not accept it on our site. I would be inclined to agree with this. There are indeed no excuses for that kind of behavior, especially on a site such as YouTube. However, it is my belief, and probably the belief of many, that said behavior was not actually committed by the user in question. And I will go into detail as to why once I finish reading this. Please be aware that you are prohibited from accessing, possessing, or creating any other YouTube accounts. For more information about account terminations and how community guidelines are enforced, please visit our help center. If you'd like to appeal the situation, please submit this form. I've looked at the appeal form in question, and yes, it is very simplistic in how it works, but then again, YouTube was very simplistic in their response, so who knows at this point. Okay, so the reason I do not believe that Mimi has committed any of this predatory behavior or whatever is as follows. I am not going to claim that I have watched every single video on the Itzmimichan channel. And I mean, there were plenty of them, and there was stuff that I've been meaning to watch for some time, and now when I not get the chance. There are other stuff that would just not be of my liking anyway. And then other stuff that I was very, very, very familiar with, and sometimes directly involved with. Based on all of that, what I think they're talking about in terms of minors being in a sexually suggestive situation is essentially, the series I Risk My Life for You and Taming the Bad Boy, specifically season 1, not If I Had You. It's no secret. I've reviewed all of them actually. The first 5 videos and episodes 7 and 8 of that review series are on my channel. I've never claimed that it was, within the reasons of a family rating, but then again, Mimi never claimed to have such a rating. But she also mentioned in episode 1 of this series that the characters actually were, in fact, of college age, so 18 and above. For example, Yuki, the one who looks 10, is actually 18 years old in the first series, and here is a clip of Mimi saying so. By the way, how old are these characters?
They're, in college, so I would say, around, 18 or something.
Oh, right, okay. I mean, I guess, he's legally allowed to smoke. It's probably a designated area.
Yeah.
That was from July of last year, so it's not like that was a recent thing. And yes, it is something that I've mentioned to her that she never made clear that this was not a minor. But then again, if something is subject to assumption, one should not jump to the conclusion of, oh, yes, just get away. Ban it instantly. Yeah, and not only just that stuff. I've looked at the YouTube terms of service, and they have a process for if they think certain types of content is harmful versus an entire channel. Removal of content by YouTube. If we reasonably believe that any content is in breach of this agreement, which the agreement was above, or may cause harm to YouTube, our users, or third parties, we may remove or take down some or all of such content. Notice of such content, not of the channel. We will notify you with the reason for our action unless we reasonably believe that to do so via the law, blah 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 blah. They notified her, so that was all followed. You can learn more about reporting and enforcement. I don't need to. Essentially, what they're saying is that if certain content, they think is something that shouldn't be on there, like for example your typical gacha cringe or whatever, then they can remove it. And yes, that very clearly, Mimi was at one point part of a much larger problem in the gacha community involving sexually explicit content, not of minors, but of content in question. And that's something that actually the higher ups at gacha itself have tackled. Lunu himself has made a statement about this and has made updates to Gacha Club and to Gacha Life on mobile devices accordingly. But yes, there's no secret that in times before, this was a major issue and to an extent still continues to be so. That does not mean to say that the people responsible for this should be censored completely and not allowed to make any sort of content regardless of what it is. This removal of content part here makes sense. If that's all that had happened, if say the Taming the Bad Boy series had been removed, like all 13 episodes, maybe not even episode 13, maybe just episodes 1 through 12, for example, that had certain inappropriate bits in them were removed, then yes, that would make sense. And I would completely understand why YouTube would do that. It would be a devastating blow, but not nearly such as, all of the progress that you have built up being completely destroyed. Of course, there's actual stuff in the YouTube terms of service for termination of YouTube accounts, which actually goes as follows. Terminations and suspensions by YouTube for cause. This is under the accounts suspension and termination section. YouTube may suspend or terminate your access, your Google account, or your Google account's access to all and part of the service if you materially or repeatedly breach this agreement. We are required to do so or comply with the legal requirement or court order, which they weren't. We reasonably believe that there has been conduct that creates liability or harm to any user other than third-party YouTube or affiliates. Okay, so let's see. So about harm to users, not so much. Yes, it is the stuff represented in Taming the Bad Boy and I'd Risk My Life for You in certain episodes is the result and the cause of a really bad mentality. And I know for a fact that Taming the Bad Boy actually started a trailblaze of certain copycats, because gacha copycats are everywhere. It happens, and it's something that is to be expected, especially when you achieve the level of success that series did. Yes, it did perpetuate a bad mentality, but I don't believe that anyone would have come to harm from such an action unless they perform stuff like, I don't know, for example, what Cole did. Then again, do people have access to shock collars, for example? No, they do not. Well, and it's not a common practice. And bear in mind that most of the people watching gacha are in fact kids, and they're not exactly going to be, all the willing to attempt this on themselves or whatever significant others they may or may not have. Harm to another third party, I don't know what other third parties you would have. Yes, she used copyrighted music in the video, so whatever monetization she would have gotten from those ones would have gone to the third parties in question, mostly BTS. Would BTS be harmed by their music being used here, or no? Would advertisers be harmed? Well, potentially, but then again, the video itself, I believe, actually had limited ads on it, so it was already being limited in terms of access to those people in question anyway. And it's hardly like that's the only series that happens to. Advertisers have to be really careful about this kind of thing. That's just the wild jungle that is YouTube, and there's nothing really that can be done about that, much less the suspension of someone's account. Does it cause harm to YouTube? Well, potentially, but again, they have a content removal system. You know, this account was not. It's not like it was. It's not like it was. You know, unsubstantial. It's not like that wasn't providing some sort of benefit to YouTube by existing. If the benefit is there, then surely we stand to reason that whatever harm was being caused by specific content and not everything that Mimi did ever in her life would then become the subject of, you know, of partial content removal rather than account suspension. I feel like I'm repeating myself a lot here, but I don't know what else to do. This video is not scripted, and I just want to get my thoughts out. Oh, and any YouTube affiliates. Well, YouTube affiliates, I guess the same as the third parties. Notice for termination suspension. We'll notify you with the reason of termination suspension by YouTube as reasoning to do so. Would yes. So yeah, they notified her. You saw the notification before. And yeah, effect of the account suspension or termination. If your Google account is terminated or your Google account's access to the service is restricted, you may continue using certain aspects of the service, such as viewing only without an account, and the agreement will continue to apply to such use. If you believe the Google account has been terminated by error, you can appeal using this form. And the appeal form, like I said, is actually right here. It's a very simple process. It's just that you have to know what to write. That's partly why I'm making this video, to give Mimi the inspiration to see how she could actually formulate this and write it. And if she wants me to go ahead and proofread whatever it is before she sends it off to YouTube, I will be able to do so. There's also a bit here that says that there's is there like any other email address that she can use to be contacted? Yes, there is. There is the link to our community channel, the Butter Bunch, which, by the way, was created before this actually happened. So therefore, Mimi is not responsible for the creation of the account. In fact, I myself created the account, but she simply will feature on it. So yeah, she has access to that account. It is partially her account. She has the password for it, so therefore it can be used. So if you want to use the Butter Bunch email as the emergency contact, then please go ahead and do so. And also, yes, I will proofread whatever it is that you want me to proofread. And also here, I'm just giving this video some ideas of what to actually do for this. And I know that the account in question was actually owned by Mimi's dad. This actually works to Mimi's advantage rather than her disadvantage, because even though her dad doesn't usually get right on any requests such as a PayPal syncing in order to actually get monetized for her content and make a living, which is what she wanted to do originally. Again, another reason why this account suspension is so infuriating is because that's no longer an option as of right now. This actually works to her advantage that is owned by her dad, because yes, she can send in the appeal herself. In fact, it will make more sense to come from her. However, this is a loophole that can be applied because her dad made the account before. It's actually him who would have the Google account restrictions apply. I wouldn't normally say this because of the FTC and copper and whatever, but for example, YouTubers such as Lieutenant Corbis had her parents own her channel, and therefore she was allowed to make the content on it. Mimi was the same. She started her content when she was under 13, however she is now over 13 and thus able to create a new account should she so desire, because it would be her account rather than her parents' account. So yes, go ahead and use that loophole if you need to. However, I would strongly recommend appealing this process first, because obviously, first and foremost, you want to have that channel back. As for other people, if you think that there's any way that could help, then please go ahead and suggest so. I'm actually going to encourage people to make their own videos on this matter, and I am going to use something like the hashtag of, for example, hashtag we love Itzmimichan. Yes, there we go. Hashtag we love Itzmimichan, and that will be a thing to put on all of the videos in question for this. And basically, I think people could say, you know, things about like their support, their personal experiences with the channel, possible ideas, maybe repeat some of the points that I've made. Just share the videos around and get people talking about this, because the advantage of having a big channel like Mimi's in the first place is that she has a community. And let us use that community to actually bring back the content that brought the community, well, into existence in the first place. So that's my personal mission to anyone watching this video, other than Mimi herself, who has, you know, the appeal and such. So again, a demonstration of goodwill doesn't really prove anything to YouTube. Not necessarily. However, whatever additional content or ideas that somebody else could come up with that could help, then those will be all the more welcome. If you just want to say something like your experiences with Mimi or just give her your support, then again, do so. Hashtag we love Itzmimichan. The reason I made it Mimichan is because you don't want to confuse it with the YouTuber Mimi XD, who is, you know, still surviving and thriving. So yeah, got to be specific on this one. I think that pretty much covers everything. Yeah, that pretty much covers everything. So go ahead and spread this. This is where I normally say something like, please leave a like or dislike because your opinion matters. That's not the case here. I don't care what you do with this video's ratings. You can comment whatever you like, yeah, or nothing at all if you so desire. I'm more concerned about people making the videos themselves this time and sharing them about, because also it will just be a great self-esteem boost for Mimi, because a YouTube channel is something that is really special to anyone who creates one and nurtures it. It's like a child in a way, but also one that grows up with you. So as all that stuff that I mentioned before was something that Mimi did last year, and she's very clearly evolved. Like, as her friend, I can say that she has most certainly evolved a lot over the past year, or even the past half year, actually. And it really shows, and her YouTube channel documents that. It's as I said in my 7 years video, documenting details of a person's evolution. That applies to everyone who nurtures a channel for years and years. It's the reason why people look back at their videos from years prior and they cringe at them, because because if they were to start things now, then they'd be so much better, because that's how it is always. We all improve, we all evolve, and we all move on from childish things such as making explicit gacha. That's that, and that's why I took this as personally as I could. But although the channel may be gone, the community is still there, and that's the reason why I want to start this video trend, to prove that no matter what, the community is still there. Should the appeal be unsuccessful and Mimi decides to make another channel, then I will do this again. I will update people, and I will be encouraging them to subscribe to that channel viciously, because what's happened here is not fair. And I don't normally pull the age card on my friends. I try and treat them all the same way because of age level, but let's face it, here, this was something that happened to somebody who was too young to understand the true consequences at the time, has been dealing with that for the past year, and has been able to move on now, and now it's all come back to haunt her. I really hope that this clears up, but just in case it doesn't, again, do your videos, share the hashtag, prove to everyone that we love Itzmimichan. And on that note, until next time, farewell.